Hey everybody, it's Mr. N here, and we're going to do a video on transformations. This particular video is going to focus on dilations about the origin and about other points. So we're going to learn how to dilate about the origin, which should be pretty easy, and then we're going to go ahead and do it about different points. So let's look at the first example. The first one says dilate each of the following. Now, for dilations, remember we have a scale factor, and the way it's written, the terminology, this is the point of dilation, what we're going to dilate about, and that's our K, which is our scale factor. So this is asking me to dilate about the origin by a factor of 3. So that means it's going to triple the lengths of all those points. So that means A prime will end up at -3, 0. So all I'm doing is saying K times X, K times Y. B prime will end up at 6, 6, and then C prime, when I multiply it by 3, will end up at 9, -6. For the second one, it's the same concept, so over here, we're going to dilate about the origin by, this time, a scale factor is, look, -1/3. The negative on a dilation just tells me that I'm going to be going in the opposite direction. So it doesn't change anything. We're just still going to say K times X. So A prime is going to be, divide everything by 3, so you'll get a -3, so you'll get 1, 0. And then we'll go ahead and do B prime, divide by 3, -3, sorry, which would give you -2, and then divide by -3, -3. And then C prime would end up at -1, and divide by 2, you end up with 2. So these were pretty simple. They're pretty straightforward. Nothing complex going on here. All right, now let's take a look at the next set of problems. On these, it says, suppose you had the following. P is 1, 3, C is -1, 4, and G is 2, -3. Dilate each of the following and write the new coordinates. Oh, this time, look, we are dilating about point P by a scale factor of 2, so C becomes what? So let's look at where point P is. Point P is at 1, 1, 2, 3. Right there is my point P. Point C is originally at -1, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's point C. So what we need to do is, instead of multiplying our coordinate right here, instead of K times X, K times Y, we can't do that because we're not at the origin. We can do it if we know the distance right here. The distance from P to C, and we're going to break it up into X and Y components. So what I mean is, this distance in the X, I'm going back 2, so that's -2. That distance in the Y, I'm going up 1. That's what I want to multiply by this scale factor of 2. I want to double this distance, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm right there, and now I want to double this distance. I'm going to go up 1, 2. So instead of up 1, I went up 2. That's where the new C prime is. Notice it still lies along this line, along that vector, and so C prime ended up right here. Now we can use our grid to determine what the coordinates are. The coordinates are going to be -1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So C prime ends up at -3, 5. This is my C prime. Often you're going to be given these and you may not have a grid, so you might have to just quickly sketch a grid to help you out. There are other ways, but the best way is to make it visual and sketch that grid. Let's look at the next one. Again, we're dilating about point P. By this time, a scale factor of 1/2, and where does G end up? Well, let's look at what point P is. Point P is at 1, 1, 2, 3 again. And over here, we've got G, which is at 2, -3, 1, 2, 3. So basically, take a look. We have this distance, and I'm going to take half that distance for the new point. So in the X, I went 1, so now I'm only going to go a half, so right there. In the Y, I went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm only going to go down 1, 2, 3. So I went over 1/2 instead of 1. I went a half of that, and then I went, let's do it in a different color, I went half of that to put me right there, and instead of down 6, I went half of that, 3, which put me right there, and that's my new G prime. Now let's read what that coordinate is. That coordinate is 1.5, 0. So 1.5, comma 0 is my new G prime coordinate. So that's what it mapped to. So hopefully this helped. The key to doing dilations that are not about the origin is to find out that point of dilation and pretend that's your origin. Take the distances from that P point, this dilation point right here, and then use the scale factor, put the new point where it belongs, and then read it off the grid for your final answer. All right, good luck with your dilations, and hopefully this video has helped.